2023, and this is our last nonprofit cheat codes of 2023, the very last one of the year. Next week, we'll kick off a brand new year with hopefully new objectives, new goals, and new priorities as we go forth. What are some of those things for you? Think about it for a second. I'm going to reset on the other side, Joe. All right, Joe. So you were starting off to tell us about some of the beginning of last week. Tell us about some of your wins. Let's kick it off with wins of the week really quick.
Win of the week is a throwback.
What's that?
I'm gonna let the mix go.
Absolutely. All right, give us your wins of the week, my brother.
Win of the week was a throwback, man. And you saw it, but I decided to dust off the wheels of steel and just do my little thing in consideration that the 50 years of hip hop has been trending all year.
All year.
And I just kind of sat back and just watched it play out. But as it came towards near the end of the year, I was like, you know what? Hip hop has influenced everything that I've become.
Absolutely.
Everything that I do, everything in the nonprofit space has been influenced by hip hop. Me becoming an engineer is influenced by hip hop. All the things that I've done and like to do are pretty much influenced by hip hop. From wanting to be a DJ, from our rap group, from how I even think about life.
Right.
Because it's by hip hop. So, I looked at my turntables. I was like, you know what? I want to get back to more of all of the things that bring me joy.
Absolutely. I love it.
Hip hop is one of the things that bring me joy. And although hip hop gets a very negative rap for some parts of it and what it's become, the parts of hip hop, and I think if you look at Black folks in our age group, say 35 to 65, a lot of what they've become was because of hip hop. Like hip hop was the force that told us we could do or be whatever we wanted to.
Absolutely.
Hip hop was the force that told us think out of the box, get off walking that straight line. Like you can be creative, you can be smart, you can be all of these different things. So I dropped I did just a little 1-minute skit about the the Fresh Fest tour and the Def Jam tour, right?
Right.
Which happened 85, 86.
Right. First concert I've ever been to.
14, 15 years old at that time.
Absolutely.
And like the influence of hip hop on my life, and at that moment, what I was seeing was a spectacle, right? Like it was a spectacle. Like nothing like this wasn't happening in our young lives, right? And like seeing it and seeing the performance and people coming up. So remember, all the technology we have today didn't exist. So everything they were doing was live.
Absolutely. 100%.
Everything was live in real time. Everything was live in real time. If you messed up, they put it back together.
Look, like the show started this morning. Right, absolutely.
It was live in real time, and it was never like you keep going.
Right.
That's a big part of it. Like you keep going. All right, you go hit through.
Right.
Keep going. But the LL concert, when LL came out
the radio.
Flipped out the speaker.
Right.
Dude, my mind was blown. Like I'm like,
right.
So I did my little LL tribute for the 50 years of hip hop. And dude, I didn't expect. So I put it out on Instagram, right? which is the platform you put it out, put it on the reel.
Right.
And then I was like, you know what? A lot of us, we have this uptight thing as we become professionals, and we kind of keep in the closet what built us, what made us, right? And then that age group I discussed is hip hop. So I was like, I'm gonna drop this on LinkedIn. Dude, the feedback that I'm getting on LinkedIn, back channel, people, yo, I remember this concert, yo, I remember this.
Right.
Like I wasn't expecting that.
Or that it doesn't belong on a LinkedIn where the doctors and lawyers and some of our leaders, even politicians, all are children of hip hop, all bore from this time. Absolutely.
So I was like, all right, I'm gonna drop one a week.
Okay, good stuff.
So my boy Aaron, who I haven't talked to in 10 years, hit me and he was like, gee, he was like, man, I just remember when Run DMC came out and Jam Master Jay was like, run. I'm dropping that next week.
Well, now this is a little different reflection of looking at hip hop. So for people who would think that it's not relevant, hip hop is what Motown sound was for the 60s and the 50s for our generation. So the 50-year mark is a very significant mark in the fact that all of our lives, this has been a cultural phenomenon and different than when you think of the Motown sound and the Smokey Robinsons and the Diana Rosses, Stevie Wonders, the Temptations, which that sound literally changed the whole course of our nation, literally, because you got to think, that was the soundtrack of the civil rights movement. And when you think of James Brown, who was notably probably the most prolific in really inspiring Black people specifically to be able to stand up and say, listen, I'm Black and I'm proud and I'm not ashamed of where I come from, and I have to fight against the power, fight the power, if you will. Hip hop has become that of the last 50 years for the generation, but it has expanded beyond, I think, what the Motown sound did for the 50s and the 60s. Hip hop is global. So it's not just America. It's not just a certain movement. It's global, and it's become multiple movements across the planet. And I think that is very different for a lot of us. It really inspired us to stand up and to speak out for injustices in a way that was never tolerable. So when I think of the Public Enemies and the X-Clans and the Tribe Called Quest and all these different groups, it's gone beyond just music as well. It's not just music, it's fashion. It's the five elements of hip hop. And I think it's everyone too. I don't think it is, ironically, it is not just one demographic. It's not one region. It's a global phenomenon, but I think it's relevant to all of us because it has inspired every single space, right? If you look at a commercial now, almost 50% of every commercial has a hip hop bed or track. You may not know that's what it is. Some of the language, some of the copy, some of the ads, the jingles are all coming from the basis of hip hop. So I think that's very relevant. And for a person that grew up at that time, at that it kind of onset or the beginning of this movement, it is very much the soundtrack of my life. And I know yours the same, because as you talk about the Fresh Fest. Fresh Fest was the first concert that I ever attended. But why it was so significant for me is, you'll remember, Gerald, and maybe some of the folks in the audience will remember, it was a concert that you got about 12 to 15 acts for $12. For $12. Do you remember that part? Who all showed up to perform, right? The whole theatrics of it, like you said, the stage, not only the props and the stage sets, but the dancers and the coordination and the crowd participation. You were just as much a part of the show as the person on the stage, because without the crowd, it wouldn't be the same. And that's different, very different than a YouTube generation, a social media generation, where you very well can perform just for the camera, for the screen, and no one necessarily is there to give you the feedback of energy the same. Now, of course, you can get comments and whatnot back, but it's not quite the same as the call and response of being in a live concert, right? So with that being said, let me start the show officially with the soundtrack of our theme song, and we'll officially get into things with Amit and everyone else. Wrong one. Sorry. It's Saturday morning. Do you know where your funders are? Let's do. And if you don't know, now you know. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning for a third time. It is Saturday, December 30th, 2023. This is our last show of the year. We are happy to be here. With me this morning, I have Gerald Moore. I have Amit Thakkar. Tiffany is out today, and Lisa seemingly out today as well. But I hope that you guys are present. Good morning, Leslie. Good morning, Jessica. Good morning, Jamila. Good morning, Christina. Happy to have you guys with us on the Clubhouse channel. And of course, our live stream channel is here as well. We are live on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, LinkedIn Live, and X. And I'm still figuring it out. Got 2-3 things I got to do, but it's been official that now you can, everyone can go on to Instagram Live as well. So we'll be launching that next week with the start of the new year. Happy to have you guys with me. Amit, I'm going to go to you because you're coming in now. How was your week so far?
Hey, what's up, man? The week was good, man. This is probably one of my favorite weeks of the year because it's like you're kind of on vacation. I was working probably with halftime.
Okay.
But able to, just catch up. And I live in, and everyone knows, a little bit upstate New York, Rochester. And there's always somebody coming through, like high school friends or college friends or colleagues or whatever. And just true to form, a couple people rolling through.
Right.
And it was good to catch up. And I went to a couple parties, just hang out casual, people in a good mood. So it was a good week.
Good stuff. Happy to hear that, brother. How's the weather up there? Is the weather mild there as well?
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's actually, like Christmas is like low 50s, you know what I mean? It's mid-50s. And it's been sort of rainy. That's the thing. It's been rainy this week. I feel like I haven't seen the sun because back at Thanksgiving, I went to Seattle. It was rainy there. And then came back here. It's been rainy in December. No snow, actually. Like, we only had a couple inches there. So it's actually been really warm. I feel like it's teeing up for something bad, probably like in January.
Right. Well, we wish that won't be the case because we know it could be a tornado in Rochester. You don't know what might happen. Right.
But no, things are good. It's a nice week, and also the thing for me also, I'm looking forward to 24, and really have been sort of intentional about putting some thought into, what I want to do for 24, different plans coming up, and, I'll be announcing some things, as you know, Mike.
Absolutely.
But I want to be more intentional about those things and do that. That just feels nice. You know what I mean? And that's just, if anyone else is doing those sorts of things, I'd love to hear about that too, because this feels nice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And well, Amit, we started off talking. I had some technical difficulties. My computer decided to die on me, so a whole deck went down at the beginning of the show. But we were kicking it off talking about our health journeys and how it's not just a cliche and it's not just something that you say is the New Year's resolution, but actually that it's really becoming life or death. And I'm sure as me, many of you guys, especially, so I turned 50. I'll be 51 in 2 days. My birthday is the first of the year. And it's crazy because I think I told you the other day of meet when we met. This is the first time in my life that I have not been back home to Rochester in a complete year. Last year was my 50th birthday celebration, and it was a fanfare of family and friends and really a good time. But I'll be 51 in 2 days, and at this age, it is really life or death. I've lost at least, well, many people I know, but I've lost 2 friends in the last 2 years that were as close to me as brothers, from literally birth to 3rd grade. These 2 friends have been a part of my life since that time, and they literally were gone. They had one had a heart attack and was gone over 6 months, was in a coma for 6 months, and the other one had cancer, multiple cancers, and he was gone in the course of a year. So I mentioned it not to change the tone to be something negative, but to say that our health. Thank you guys. I appreciate the happy birthdays. I say it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go live on my birthday. I'm gonna do a Gerald Moore. I'm gonna go live on my birthday in 2 days. But because of this, I think our health is something that is no longer a I might do a little workout once in a while. No, it becomes life or death. And how we look at health has had to change, or needs to evolve, so that we can be here well into our second half. This is the second half, and I want it to be a fruitful second half, not where I'm dragging through, waiting on my demise, but living a good life and contributing. So I don't know how you and Gerald feel about that, but I hope that well, I know, but I just, in this context, to hear your feedback.
Really, really good, and I was thinking the same sort of thing. And the one thing that was like interesting, one thing in our conversation was that I think a lot of the food and a lot of the different things that we put into our bodies.
Just had it.
There must have been a memo that went out about 10, 15, 20 years ago about like how they're going to change some of these things. You know what I mean? It's more like chemicals and preservatives, and it's just all these different things.
Industrial chemicals, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, and you and I were joking about the fact that the McDonald's, the food that we ate growing up was, it's very different than the stuff that we said. I got not picking up McDonald's and McDonald's. The food that we're eating, it is very different, and it's one big factor. I think, I'm not a scientist, but I believe in just how all these things evolve. You know what I mean? And so it's really, I really appreciate that conversation. And that's one thing that I think that's right, Mike. You know what I mean? It's one thing that we can control,
right?
And trying to get more fresh vegetables and produce, and incorporating that into your life. It's not just a New Year's resolution 24. Hey, I'm going to eat some more garlic. No.
Right.
Those things, whatever you like. There's many different things. Anyways, I appreciate our conversation. I am taking it seriously, and I hope that people are also taking a look at those things and trying to be more well. I think that's really what it is. It's not even just a slogan, or just something to say it to be in here. It's financially well, healthy, from a health perspective, well, mental health, all of those things are well in relationships that we have. All those things.
Absolutely.
Just trying to be well it's hard. I'm just starting on this journey, working on it. So anyway, appreciate the conversation, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Well, I'm meeting this other part, and Joe, I'm sure Joe will jump in to say that it's hard for sure, no question, but we do have control over it. So there are certain things we don't have control. Yes, can we contribute to it with the global warming? So a lot of our actions and being more sustainably conscious, and not to throw plastics into certain garbages, and trying to reduce fossil fuel. These are things that we still have some control over, but some of them are not completely in our control. What you do have complete control over is what you put in your mouth. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no sideways about it. You do have control over what you put in your mouth. And I say it not because this is nonprofit cheat codes, right? This isn't health cheat codes, but I think it's relevant because a lot of the populations we serve are dealing with food insecurities. They're dealing with hypertension, obesity, and all of these different ailments. But a lot of it has to do with the things that we are putting in our mouths. And this is my wife and I had this morning. As a matter of fact, I probably am not as prepped today as I normally am, because we had this conversation until me walking in here 30 minutes before showtime. And I'm usually in here 2 hours before showtime. But I mentioned it because we were talking about really, as a couple, as a family, as a household, really working on seeing food as medicine, right? That food is medicine. And I say it not to sound preachy or to force anything down anyone's throat by any means, but to say you have control over food. It's not, I don't want to give the power up. So this was the point. If I was with a crack stem in my hand or my mouth, you would go, "Oh my God!" Like Mike, no. You know, it for me. If Gerald, I use Gerald or you, were to see me with a shot glass of Hennessy, for the people that know me, that would be very foreign. Foreign. It would be like, oh my God, like the Henny, right? For me, right? Because the people that know me know that I don't drink. I never have drank, but we can overeat and overindulge on a 15 ounce. I know it's a lot, but a 15-ounce New York strip steak or a porterhouse steak. We can overindulge in 2 mugs of beer, and it's socially acceptable. And I'm not saying it to sound in judgment, but to say that we got to get conscious that food is medicine, and what you eat, you become. And Gerald made the point earlier. Also, what you don't eat is a part of the fact that we're not eating enough vegetables. Or this, I don't want to go too far, but the ideal that produce are scarce in our communities. And I'm not just talking about poor, ravished, impoverished, perceivable impoverished communities. I mean, go to Walmart and look at the produce in Walmart. And I said it, so Walmart, you can hold Mike Shaw accountable for that. But the produce are sad. they're sad. But it's not just Walmart. Across the board, produce are not the produce that we grew up on, you guys. Even the produce are infused with GMOs and other things, and it's really scary. Gerald, I wanted to hear you jump in. I saw you come on.
Motivation for being healthy and how you eat, we have to think about who we are to other people. So me, as a fund manager, money manager, you have to think about who you are to these people, right? If you ain't in good health, you can't manage the money. Like, what happened? That's right. Right. So it's not even just a whole you thing. Like in me, and what I feel like the mission is for Mission Fulfilled and seeing it through. It's not even about me. Like it's
absolutely
who I am to other people. That's right. That's right.
I love that, Gerald. I love that.
When I think about that, it's the motivating factor, right? Because I really feel like I got people's lives in my hands.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's right. You know, that it is pressure, but it's also the influences to make the right decision.
No, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. That's exactly right. And we all have people, clients, and friends, and obviously family in our lives that we are there for, right? And being healthy increases the time of that, right? So no, I think that's Gerald. Appreciate that. That's a great way to look at it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that it doesn't, I guess this other part, that for me, my wife was just talking to me this morning. She was saying, well, what do you feel as though that you have the up and down? Because I'll lose 50 pounds and I'll gain 40 pounds and I'll lose 60 pounds. And for me, I speak for myself. I know when I say I could probably say I'm professional at getting weight off and training up, but I'm habitual. So what I was explaining to her this morning was, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, but it is really a science thing. So there's a certain amount of calories. All of our bodies are different. Our metabolisms are different. Our sensitivities are different. But there is some formula that there's a certain amount of calories that your body has to consume to maintain the size you are. There are some fluctuations to this. There are some variants to this, meaning that if you have a thyroid issue or there are a couple other issues that you can have that the regulation of this can be off. But in general, there are certain formulas of intake and output. If you take in to maintain the weight you are, so say you're 180 pounds, that may take 1,200 to 1,800 calories a day to maintain that particular weight. If you consume more than that on a consistent basis over months, weeks, etc., you will gain weight. If you consume less than that on a consistent basis over months and weeks and months, you will lose weight. So as we get older, our sensitivities to certain foods and to lack of physical activity can change the ability to lose weight at the same frequency or the same level as when we were much younger, right? So we become more sedentary. We don't move as much. Our jobs, our lifestyles may require us to be stationary more, right? And that can be, along with your metabolism and these things changing, you can start to pack on the weight. So it's not rocket science, and it's not like, oh my God, it's no, you're moving less, you're consuming more, and your metabolism has slowed down. But this is the key. You can do stuff about it. You do have control to impart on this. And that's the part I'm trying to kind of touch on in this first part of our conversation today, is to say you have more control than you're giving yourself. And even if you put on 100, even if you put on 150 or whatever amount of pounds, you still can have an impact on changing it. You still can have an impact on bringing it back into the fold. And that's the part I want everybody to really kind of gather around, is that it doesn't have to stay that way. You know, it doesn't have to stay that way. Amit, you were coming on.
Yeah, no, that's just again, let me just say one thing before I say one thing. I'm the last talking about like health, food, and stuff.
But you aren't. You really aren't. You really aren't.
Well, I'm trying to put this into practice in my own life, but one quick thing that I found interesting in this list and all of these things is the one thing that I've made a big change in, and you and I probably just briefly talked about this. Most of the people who met me, I've been overweight my whole life and working on it. But the one thing I have changed in the recent year, a little bit longer than that, but in recent times, has been like the incorporation of like fresh foods and really lowering my processed foods.
Absolutely.
I have not lost that much weight yet. I'm working on that. That's one of the next things I'm working on. Is I am, as you guys know, in full transparency, I am diabetic, and obviously weight is a huge component of bad
diabetes. Absolutely.
Right. And so what I've noticed is that like the incorporation of fresh foods and vegetables, right, have really made a material impact on my body. And so that's one thing I just encourage people to take a look at and think about. And people say, well, I haven't lost that much weight, and I haven't done that. And that's fine. We'll work on that. That's certainly one thing that I need to work on. But what I've immediately worked on is lowering the processed foods. So fast foods are gone. And it was amazing when you've seen videos of this, which you all have. When you deconstruct the fast foods, right? It's amazing. The seed oils, the sugars, the chemicals, the preservatives that are in one of those meals. You know what I mean? And so I encourage people to think about that. And also incorporating in cooking a little bit more and being a little more intentional. And again, I struggle with this. I am not saying this from I've solved this problem. I have not solved this problem for me. I am working on the thing, but I feel like when I'm on a good element of cooking, good food, and with healthy materials, healthy food, and fresh fruits and vegetables, it makes a material impact on my life from every angle. So just throwing that out there to people. Obviously, we're going to work on the weight, and I'm working on that as well. But one thing you can immediately do, and I think you'll see some benefits over a short period of time, is that. So think about that as well, along with because I just don't want people to get caught up so much on I haven't lost any weight and I haven't done anything.
Right.
It's a failure. I'm not doing it. It doesn't work. No. One element that's a huge element of health. The other element is as you were saying, what you put in your body. You can put in good quality energy food that can really also materially help. It has helped me, and so maybe that's something to think about, for 2024.
Absolutely. And when you think about the food, and it's not all about, obviously our episode or our segment today are not all about health, which I think are by no means no apology for this, because I think it's critical. But when we think about this, a lot of what's going on is you cannot work out a bad diet. And Gerald and I said it earlier. It doesn't matter. You can, and I'm a person, I'm proof of that, because I'm a person, typically, I work out 5 to 7 days a week, or half. Not like this last week, I've not worked out at all. And I've given myself permission to cheat a little bit for the holiday. And I'm eating some things I normally would eat. I've probably had half a liter or a liter of ginger ale, which is, for me, you think it's ginger ale, it's not a big deal. But for me, go back to this sensitivity. I am super carb sensitive, and I don't say it lightly. I'm super sensitive to carbohydrates, right? I really, literally am super sensitive. And it takes me a week of eating and consuming a lot of carbs. I'll literally pack on some weight in a week. That's not everybody, right? But I'm also very sensitive to working out. So if I do weight solidly for a month or two, I'll bulk up. You can see the form in me very, very fast. So knowing this, I have to be conscious of when, you heard me say when, and what I consume. For me, when I consume is a big deal because after 6 o'clock or so, most people, not everybody, at 50 years old, for the average person, after 6 o'clock, we are sedimentary. We're not moving. We're not really doing anything. And we get to the couch, or we'll get to the recliner, or we'll get to a desk, and we sit for the rest of the evening. So when we're eating after that time, these foods aren't even necessarily digesting in a healthy way, but we're also not burning them off at all. So I mentioned that to say we have to be far more conscious, far more aware of what we're eating and when we're eating. I know for a lot of people that doesn't seem like a big deal, and it may sound foreign when you hear this idea of intermittent fasting, but for me, it's been tremendously helpful, and it's been one of the tools in my repertoire, if you will, to really control or at least get back on track whenever I fall off. And this thing right here is super simple, but it's extremely important. Having some form of activity. Now, the misnomer is that you got to run a marathon or you got to come in the gym and put up weight. That's a complete lie. You do not have to push weight, heavy weight, or deadlift. No, you can do light physical activity and still get tremendous impact from it. The fact is, I got to look at the stat. I don't have it in front of me. I hate quoting without having it in front of me, but probably 70% or 80% of Americans don't even get mild physical activity. We work at a desk. We work at home. Think about working at home. Like the last 3 years have been eviscerating to health. The fact that we were working from home, or for some of us, Gerald, I don't know if you can relate, we're working in proximity of 5 or 10 feet from the refrigerator. So it's really dangerous when you think about what happened through the pandemic. And I just want to mention that because you're not alone. And I always try to tie that in. You are not by yourself in this, as crazy as it may sound. And how does this all relate to nonprofits? It relates because how are you going to be a good steward of helping people and helping kind of guide people to better their lives if you're not doing it for yourself? We have to model the behavior that we want other people to model. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing. When people look at you, it should be a reflection of a person who doesn't mean you have it all together, but at least you're moving in that route. You're moving in that direction. To me, Gerald, can you relate? Do you see that as a reality? It inspires people too. Doesn't mean you're perfect by a long shot.
Absolutely. So my wife's a cooker, right? She loves to cook, and she's cooking for multiple people in our home.
Right.
How I eat is not necessarily how our 13-year-old is going to eat.
Absolutely.
Right? But she still has to cook for him. So there's this delicate balance of what's local. And she'll be cooking, and I've decided that I'm not eating no more today, but the aroma in the house is crazy. There's times I've actually had to leave home for hours just because I couldn't take it. Like either I'm gonna eat something or I gotta leave.
Right. Absolutely.
Like I've left home for hours. I picked up my laptop and said, I'm going and I'm gonna call me when you open the windows up.
And it's safe to return. Right.
Exactly. Like, man, so, it's definitely a challenge all the time.
No, listen. So when you say that, that makes me think. Go ahead, Amit. I'm sorry.
Usually good home cooked meals bring it back home. You know what I mean?
Well, now this is what's funny. This is what's funny about that, Amit. So even with Gerald saying potential that he might overconsume because it smells so good, it tastes so good, but you just made a differentiator right there that they're home cooked meals. That in your house there are meals that are prepared by you or your spouse intentionally. That's a huge deal because a major part of what we're dealing with is that we're dealing with pre-packaged processed foods. And my wife we just had this conversation where she was saying, well, what's the difference with you? Because you're eating emotionally. And I am an emotional eater. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. But the key is most of the things people emotionally eat aren't things that grow on the vine. They aren't things that grow off a tree. Most of the things that people emotionally eat are pre-packaged foods that you can crack a bag open and you can fill your hands up. So the point here is you have to have strategy, right? So a couple strategies, and I'll say this and then we're going to segue a little bit, but a couple strategies for me, I don't eat out of bags anymore, right? The only bags I'll eat out of are sandwich or snack bags, right? So if I want a snack food or even peanuts, it has to be in a sandwich bag or a snack bag. I don't eat out of the bag anymore. I can't control it. And I don't consciously realize that when I'm going overboard. When it's a sandwich bag, I pour the portion that I want in there, and I know exactly how much I consume. I can consciously be physically aware of what I'm actually putting in my body. So for me, that's a big deal. For me, that works. Another thing, I try not to consume this week. I give myself a cheat. Try not to consume sugary beverages. Why again? Because liquid calories are the worst calories we can consume, bar none, period. All right. Soda, juice, and it's really no real win. All right. Soda, juice, Gatorade, all those different things, they're empty calories. They really don't serve us most of the time. I understand sometimes we need something to quench, but this other thing is a big deal. Third part is retraining your taste. We all have things that taste good to us, right? We love the taste of it. I'm a vegetarian, been a vegetarian for it'll be 32 years in the next week or two that I've been a vegetarian. Have I had my bouts? I had a year or two when I went back to eating meat and I was literally sluggish. You would think I was a savage because I started getting the famous Daves. And after about a year and a half, I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I was literally dragging myself upstairs after eating ribs and going back to meat. So I'm saying this to you to say, you can retrain your taste. It does not happen overnight, but it can happen. And you have to be intentional in doing it. And it takes it's just like anything. It's one step at a time. It's day by day. Gerald, Amit, have you experienced that? Have you ever dealt with kind of retraining or reframing your taste for different foods?
All the time. Always a challenge in making choices, right?
Right.
Things are around you and delve into things that you wouldn't if they were not around you. So all the time I had to kind of retrain myself. I'm a smoothie guy in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I like making my smoothie. So the taste of green smoothie didn't really appeal to me. But I had to learn to, all right, I got to figure out either how to make this better.
Right.
And by making it better, either I have to add stuff that should be in it, or I got to learn how to deal with it how it is.
Absolutely.
I take a spoonful of black seed oil. Right? Oh, it's so disgusting. Over time, all right, I get this spoonful right to the head. We got to figure it out. And now it's not so bad. Right. It's not so bad. But initially, man, disgusting. But I realized, all right, you want to maintain a certain level of health, and there's things that you don't have to do, and that's going to require a little bit of discipline.
And I think, Joe.
I'm about to put a whole plate of to meat, right?
Okay.
So meat, this is what we're going to do. Top middle here. Okay. If I can't raise this money, I'm going Gandhi. We're going to have to do a 30 days of fast until we raise the money. Like, I'm not going to eat. I'm going to put it out a challenge. I'm not going to eat until I raise the money. Hey, here's the element too. We're going to have you get on top of your
Right. Right.
No, that's too cold to be on top.
No, that's a popular thing in Rochester, bruh. Right. Empathy. That'll get empathy. All you gotta do is tie to a local radio station or TV station that'll give you coverage. And I know the space well. They will give you coverage to say this brother is on top of his building at the John Lewis Center on State Street. No, it won't have the same impact. Look, it won't have the same impact. I wanted to address something and move on. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You take Gandhi The way you said that, it was funny. The way you said it, Gandhi, I know exactly right. That's I'm going Gandhi. Yeah. The way you said it, I'm going crazy. Exactly. That's what it is. So only the people can bring me out of it. That's right.
Absolutely.
Go back to your real quick question. Two things that have helped me, and this is really about changing food taste and everything. One thing is meal prep has been really big. And if people, I know you see that incessantly, but because when I come home on Monday or Tuesday night, and if I don't have something I can eat quickly, it goes south real bad. You know what I mean?
Right. Choice. Right.
You're right. And I totally pick something I want to eat. And so, the girls are looking about that strategy for you and family and what might work or whatever. And then it's just really boring, but I'll say getting a nice set of knives and get your gear ready for cooking at home is really helpful. It was intimidating, some of the different spices I got. Honestly, I didn't know paprika, that's so big. I didn't know what the onion powder. What is that? I had no idea until years ago. I know I sound horrible, right?
Well, no, it sounds like a palette. I mean, think of an artist, and the artist has their red and their blue and their yellow and the green, and they make different colors from having a palette. And you're talking about a palette of flavor. So I think that is a great way of looking at it.
That's right. And so just having your gear, a nice knives and all that. So anyway, just wanted to throw all the two things that help me, because then now I'm ready to do something. You know what I mean? And again, I have to enjoy more of this. So just encourage people to think about those things that make your life easier. The fresh home cooked meals is incredible. It's not for thousands of years. That's all that we ate, on this planet. And we got to go back to a little bit of that. Doesn't mean I do it every single day. Trust me, I don't. But I'm trying more often than not. I'll leave it on.
Absolutely. Well, and this is where I was about to go to say the ideal here. Obviously, we're nonprofit cheat codes, but I think it's very relevant, as I said before, because we can't do any work for people in the country, in our communities, if we're not healthy. As they say, put your mask on as it drops down on the airplane, even before you put your child or your baby's mask on next to you. So you can't do the due diligence, and you can't do the work if you're not taking care of yourself first and your health. And I probably will have some component of it going forward, because it's that big of a deal. And I think sometimes we kind of dismiss it as, oh, it's that health. No, it's not helpful. It's life or death. Maybe I'm selfish because at 50, I'm starting to see aches and pains and things are happening that never happened in my life at this age. But I think it's really a lifestyle thing. And in order to be here a little longer, to have a quality of life. So look, you can live a long time, but is the quality of your living what you want to do? I don't want to be here. Now, I want to go too far, but I don't want to be trapped in my body. And I've had many people that I love dearly who passed on or transitioned, who at the end of their life, the last year or two, they were trapped, or 3 years or 4 years. My mother, she was trapped in her body. My grandmother, she was trapped in her body. And what I mean is, you're in this body, but you're not living. You're actually seeing things happen around you, and you can't move a certain way. You can't operate a certain way. You can't function a certain way. And I speak for myself, but I'm sure it can relate. I don't want that for myself. I don't want my demise to be that I was trapped in a body looking through this mask of sorts and seeing people operate around me, and I couldn't do anything but be taken care of. No, could it happen? Absolutely. Is it possible? Absolutely. But I want to roll the odds on my favor to say that I want to have more input than not. And I think that's one of the things that when we talk about this health consciousness or being aware, it's one of the things that we have to be very intentional about. And we can't take it lightly, and we can't blow it off, because if we don't, we are not going to have the quality of lives or be able to help the people. Helping people is a big deal for me. So I want to throw this in here. So every one of us have heard about the love languages. And one of my big love languages is service. I used to say gifts, but my wife explained to me that getting gifts is the love language, not giving them, I guess. I don't know if I agree with that, but I will accept that service. A huge part of my love language is service. I love to serve. It really fulfills me. It uplifts me. It brings me into my happy place. That's just how I'm built. And So one of those ways of service is gift giving. So I love to give. I love to accommodate. I love to help people that I care about. So one of the ways in my household that I had to be conscious of is I like to buy food. I like to buy snacks. I know what my wife likes. I know what my daughters like. So if I see something that I know they like, then I will try to pick up a snack that is something that they like because I know their taste. But what I had to be conscious of is that my wife will say, like, I can't have certain things in the house. And I'm like, what's the big deal? It's, it's just some Oreos. It's double stuff. What's the big deal? I know you got, and she's like, no, I need you not to buy those. And I don't know if any of you guys can relate or have had that experience in your life where you literally have to not have something around because your affinity for it is so strong that it's just not good to have it in your presence. And Gerald and me, can you relate to that? Is there any experience similar? Give me some. Oh, excuse me. You got me about to choke over here. Right. 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 That the whole line ain't gonna hurt nobody, right? Right. Right. Amit, have you had that and I know you may, I don't know, I assume you may, from what you've told me in the past, live by yourself, but are there certain things that you just can't have in the house? It doesn't serve you well.
If I get a bag of chips, if I get it or whatever, fill in the blank, whatever it is, and I will eat the whole thing, right? What you're sitting there, and you get the funny thing Gerald said is exactly what I was saying. What? Tomorrow I'm going to eat really well, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to do something, And you know what? That never happens, right?
Right. Right.
It's just easier to leave things at the store and you do that. But I also find for myself, just me personally, is I can't completely go without some of them. So
right.
I'm operating under the rules of more often than not is what I'm trying to do, which is out of all these days, more times than not, I'm not doing it because I know of myself. If I completely deprive myself, I'll binge. You know what I mean? It'll just be bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
I try to, but it can't be like a 50-50 balance. It's got to be 80% good, 20% once in a while bad. There's some ratio like that for me personally. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think I agree with you, Amit, that it is not good to completely deprive yourself because then, like you said, you feel the deprivation of something being taken from you completely. So for some people, like I'm a cold turkey person. Now, for me, I typically go completely cold turkey because I operate in that pretty well, but I'm not everybody in that capacity, and I'm acknowledging that. So going back to my wife again, sometimes it's frustrating. Like I just want to, buy a cheesecake for the house, right? What's the wrong with the cheesecake? And she'll say, yeah, but you have the self-discipline to be able to say, I'm not eating it and not eat it. And I can love cheesecake desperately, but if I say it's a programming thing, it's maybe even a power trip thing for me. If I say I'm not going to do it, I typically can restrain from doing these things. But she'll say, listen, but you have to have a knowledge and a consciousness that I may not be where you are. So it's not healthy for you to bring these things around. And I'm like, what's the big deal? So I'll go and I have to work on it. I'm trying to get better and be more aware and more conscious of what she's telling me. That I'll see things and she'll put them in the bag and I'm looking at, why is this like hidden behind the ravioli in the back of the cabinet or why is this put under the so-and-so? And I'm like, and being fair and being conscious and being fair to her because she doesn't do well with having it in her presence. And I'm saying it because I imagine there's a lot of people that if it's in your house, it's hard to restrain from, and it doesn't set you up well to bring things in that are going to counteract or sabotage you in that way. So let me use the word sabotage. We can't waste the money. And Gerald, now see, you just said a thing. I got a lot of self-discipline, so I can buy it for my family. But I grew up with grandparents, and you didn't waste food. I grew up in where you do not waste. Get obese, but do not, which is stupid. But literally, it's really a bad concept, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Do not waste food. Don't waste food. It's not acceptable to waste food. So we binge, and you cannot waste food. Yes, it's a thing. So that's a great point there, Joe, that if you buy it, then it'll be wasteful. So what I'm trying to get better at is not buying it. Just restrain from it. Or if you were going to buy that, and then this is the last part here. I really want to move on so I can kind of give our wrap up before we jump off for today, our last show of the year, is produce don't last. So when the meat says about processed foods, they're put that way for companies to make more money, but they're also excuse because you don't have to eat them fast. They can sit in the cabinet for a month, basically. And that's another part of the self-fulfilling prophecy is that we buy this food that if you don't eat it right away, it's okay because it'll stay there. Where if you buy fruits and vegetables and produce and some of these other naturally based foods, you got to eat them. You got to cook them. You got to use them. You got to eat them. And that doesn't always fit well into our lifestyles. So with that being said, I hope that you, at least if anything today, just reflect on what you may consider. I'm not telling you need to go run track. I'm not telling you to cut out all the foods you like, but just being more conscious of it going into this new year, because it really is nothing more important than it. If you really think about it, if you're not here, all the good charity and philanthropy and giving back really won't matter because you won't be here to do it. And in some ways, you can look at it as you get people used to a support system that you're there and you're not there to support them or to be that backbone. So I think I just highly encourage you to go into this new year that you're very, very conscious. And I hope for everyone listening that this year you were able to get some good feedback or get some good jewels here. Our purpose of doing this originally was to be able to provide some information, but also a community for nonprofit founders and nonprofit professionals, small nonprofits, right? We're not talking about the Susan G. Koldmans, and they can come too, right? But for the small nonprofits who may not have all the resources, may not have all the funding, may not have all the information, can come to a safe place and ask a question that you might feel uncomfortable asking in other forums, but for here, this is the place for it. So I hope that this year, 2023, you were able to get some pearls of wisdom, some jewels, some support, right? Some community, because that's what we're here for. And going into this next year, I hope that you will ride with us going forward. It's been a really, really important year across our country. It's been transformation. It's been resilience. It's been a lot of innovation that's happened in our country, from policies across the country that have been effective or ineffective for nonprofits, to technology. ChatGTP this year, you guys, changed a lot of people's lives. It changed a lot. I think, I speak for myself, it 100% changed my life in the sense of being able to do more in a shorter amount of time. And I hope that you had some things. And Joe, you better not get caught with her. But with that being said, you Joe, do you remember the first month when I shared it with you, and how it was about a month where you're about paralyzed, you stuck, addicted almost to this technology. But yes. Oh, right. Listen, I just had to pause. When you said a word right there. My productivity has changed in 2023 with the advent and uses of ChatGPT in ways that my entire 50 years of life, I was not as productive in getting things accomplished. I was able to do things at a level and at a rate that I never saw in my life. But this other side of it, and I know people talk about the potential for plagiarism, but actually it doesn't plagiarize formally in the sense of plagiarism. But there will be people who obviously take articles and say, spin this. I don't want to put people out there, but you can, but it does not plagiarize because it searches to make sure it's not plagiarized. And I'm sure it's some arguments with that. But my point being is the thing that I've gotten from ChatGPT, and I speak for myself specifically, it's made me a better writer. I think I was always a decent writer. Of course, I would sometimes get lazy with grammar and some rules of grammar I was sometimes forgetting and very clearly. But the structure of writing, I've always been pretty decent with. But what GTP has helped me with is it's made me more conscious and aware of my writing. It's kind of retaught me some structural things of being better with grammar and whatnot. And that way I've learned. So my brain is learning from it by looking at these ways and rethinking. And I don't know if you guys can relate to that, using it in that capacity.
It's likewise for me because I write a certain way, right?
Right.
And I want everything I write, I want it to be in my voice still.
Right.
So
Right.
I say, okay, what's correct? But sometimes everything isn't about being correct.
Right.
It's about a voice.
Voice. Absolutely.
If I'm using it, I'm like, all right, I see what you wrote, which may be correct, but that's not my voice.
Absolutely.
So I will make things incorrect just because it's not my voice. And people ain't, when I'm doing stuff, it ain't subject to an English teacher.
Right. Right.
I get my voice across how I want my voice to be heard, but therefore it gives me an opportunity to learn, though, about my sentence structure and how I write.
Right.
By feeding it into it and saying, hey, give me some feedback on what I'm writing. Right? So it's great for that.
And the other thing, I think in that same thing, which is amazing, and I don't know if anyone's used it for this, and I kind of want to finish here with ChatGTP because it was a game changer across the board in almost every industry. It's been a game changer. But the cool thing Gerald just said, and I didn't think of it that way, and I'm glad he brought it up, was that you can be in the tone of whoever. It could be in the tone of Biz Markie. Literally, you could say, write this in the tone of Biz Markie, and it will use some nuance of phrases or references he makes, but still be completely grammatically correct. That's something that I had never experienced before. The matter of fact, it's been some bias in that because the ideal is if you're talking in a certain vernacular or a certain voice, well, then it couldn't be grammatically correct. And if you remember the day or the time where it was the Ebonics argument, it's Ebonics, which implied that it was broken English or it was incorrect English. Well, this is the crazy thing. You could speak in a urban is the buzzword, or a ghetto, if you want to use those type of buzzwords, and be completely grammatically correct, be completely sentence structure correct. And I think that's something, I don't know if anyone's looked at it from that capacity. You can write in whatever tone you want, but you still can apply it to correct grammar, right? And that to me is a game changer, which gives a voice to so many people who may not have had a voice. Quick closing here before I get around the room so we can get some feedback. As we approach this new year, it's essential for nonprofit founders to remain committed to our visions, right? Continuously seeking innovation, solutions, and foster resilience within our teams and communities. The impact that we've made this year, you, me, all of us collectively, is just the beginning of what's possible. In summary, in 2023, it has been a year of significant learning and growth for nonprofit founders. The journey ahead is bright and the promise of continued impact and innovation is before us. Let's continue to carry forward the spirit of resilience and creativity into 2024 and beyond, making a lasting difference in the lives of these we serve. We all have the ability to contribute a little that can change a lot. Make sure you're intentional with it. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves. Quick round the room. Gerald, Amit, any final thoughts before we get off this last show as we go into 2024?
2024, here we come, baby. Self-discipline, self-aspiration, make it happen.
All right, Amit.
And with that, listen, this room is a nice. I want to say I like what you said about this room and the fact that, and bring it back to like food. This is one of those rooms I think that is not junk food, right? The world of
Right, I love that.
Noise, the world of like just in some cases of just debauchery.
Right, Amit, yes, it is.
Right? I mean, we're all part of that, but not. There's this very seriously that I think the information that comes out of this room comes. I don't want to be corny, but it comes from the heart. It comes from a good place from all of us. Myself, you, Gerald, Tiffany, Lisa, and other people as well. And I think that's great. And really
Good stuff.
I think that really some of the nuggets that are here really nourish the mind and nourish the soul. I think that's really good. So I really believe what you were saying, Mike. And also, what Joe was saying, 2024 is around the corner. Let's do it. Let's make it a good year. Let's have some fun. We have the tools. We have the information. We got the energy. Let's be that and come strong in 24 and make it happen. Joe was saying, I'll see you next week and look forward to continuing all this in 2024 as well.
Absolutely, guys. Have a happy new year. We will see you in 2024 next week at 11 a.m. We are going to our format in 2024. So I know people typically can come on in the second hour, but we're doing 60 minutes because we're getting ready to be able to push our podcast network and really get this formatted for podcasting to be able to share with more people. Remember, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram Live, LinkedIn Live, and YouTube Live. We are live, and hopefully I'm going to convince my crew to go on video with me more next year. So you can find us on multiple channels if you're not just looking at us on Clubhouse. I look forward to going into this new year and learning from you all as well as we build and share. Thank you, Jennifer. I see you. Let's see. Thanks for creating this platform. It's been helpful for Michael Hart's Academy, Inc. in so many ways. Happy New Year. We appreciate you all. To Lisa, Christina, Sai, have an amazing end of 2023 in celebration as we move into the new year. Have an amazing one, you guys. We'll see you next week, next year. Hey, G, you need to be on here cutting. You know that. Like, you cheating the people, man. You cheating the people. Look, I'm doing a virtual cut. Literally, that you cut on, absolutely. I'm sorry, I went a little raw, y'all, but that's a jam. My bad of me. We're going out with a bang. You guys have an amazing one. I'll talk to you in the new year. Have an amazing one, you guys. See you next year.